Thank you. I've called this meeting to order, and we have quite a feedback. And before I go to roll call, I want to mention the resignation of Commissioner Gutierrez, Henry Gutierrez. He was a great asset to our commission, but for personal reasons, he had to step away. So we will miss his input. So with that, Janie, roll call.
Charles Burles,
Here.
Dave
Oh.
M. Spoker,
Present. Present.
Paul Gaines,
Here.
Tim Gerlach,
Here.
James Lorimer,
Here.
John Stutzman,
Here.
and we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Shall we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we'll move on to approval of minutes. And hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those once they were sent to you. I know we have at least one question. Commissioner Amspoker.
Yeah, I'm looking here at, under airport staff reports, line, look down under airport projects and maintenance. It says replacement of the air conditioning units in T hangars. I was not aware that we had air conditioners in the T hangars. Can someone explain that?
Give him a chance to find it. It'd be on the third page of the minutes.
It's under airport staff reports, section B.
About the fourth line from the bottom of the page.
That may have been an error on our part in inserting that information.
Okay, did we replace air conditioning someplace?
We did replace them. They were inside of the actual terminal building.
The terminal building. Okay, not T-hang. So let's correct that T hangars to terminal building.
I think it'd be nice if we had air conditioners in the T hangars.
All right, any other additions, corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll put a motion in to accept the minutes corrected.
All right, moved by Jim Lorimer,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Stutzman. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as corrected, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes stand corrected. All right. In consideration of public comments, this is a hybrid meeting. The public has three ways of addressing this commission: in person, call-ins, and written comments. Now, I do have one request to address the commission from a Mr. Kirkland, but I believe, do you want to address us up front, sir, or do you want to wait until we bring your item up?
Well, I'm here on behalf of Doug, so however Doug would like to do it. You tell me.
I was going to recommend that we bring that up. I add that into the airport division memo
Okay,
on
excellent.
updates, and that'll give everybody an opportunity to hear them out and have any questions.
Yeah, I would like to answer any questions anybody has at the time.
Okay, so we'll hold your request for that item. Excellent. All right. Janie, do we have any registrations for call-ins or any written comments?
No, we do not.
All right. Let's go on to item number 3, reports. We'll start with the business park staff report. Mr. Bennett.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
First, I'd like to start off by mentioning a 2020 annual economic development report that we completed within the last few months. We did present that report in July to the council, and I did bring a copy for everybody to take with you of that report. We did mention the airport impacts as part of that in one of those pages. So, in regards to rail out at the industrial park, for the month of June, we have not received May numbers yet. So I'm going to go back to June, which was the last time we reported was July. So we had storage cars on hand of 154, and we had cars that were moved or switched at 96. And in regards to the rail, we're currently seeing a lot of interest in regards to some transloading possibilities out at the industrial park. So we're working those leads as well. Then I want to talk about a few current land sales that we've been working on the last few months. We've got over 40 acres of property in regards to applications on land purchases. And with that, we started appraisal processes on those properties. One property, we're into it probably over a couple months into the process, and that's been submitted to the FAA for approval at this point. Talk about some new businesses out at the industrial park that have recently located there and give you an update on them. Colt Builders, they've received their temporary certification of occupancy from the county. I did go out and tour that site today, and they're ready to start construction of wall panels, and that's going to be their process of building wall panels for large either apartment complexes. They're built on site and they're shipped out and basically installed on the properties where the development is happening. So they expect to start production this month. I spoke with the Cordillera Window Company president yesterday. They've currently employed over 20 people at their facility. They are leasing 90,000 square foot of space in what was the old Southwire facility. And they expect to be at about 250 windows a day in production, 250 windows a day and upwards of 40 more employees over a 90-day period. So very excited about that project. Interstate Group, they did get their site plan approved through the county. They purchased some acreage from us right behind their facility. And so this is an expansion that is going on. Project is moving forward. Building plans were submitted at the end of June. Once they're approved, they want to start construction. ISCO Industries, we did a land sale to them a couple years back for expansion of their yard. This is the second part of their expansion. They're going to be adding around 40,000 square foot to their building at their existing facility. They're in the process of a site plan process with the county. And then we've got a company by the name of Zepp Industries, which is leasing 200,000 square foot out at the industrial park. And they are in the process of getting their approvals through the county for their storage tanks. So they're not operational yet in regards to up and running, but they are working on hiring and getting their staff and their workforce where it needs to be. The industrial park out there on the roads, we had a grant that was received a few years back. We've been in the process of going through the engineering on that. We did get our bids back from the contractors, and so we anticipate moving forward on 2 of those roads, Portway, which connects a flight line down to Olympic, and then we're going to do Government Way, which connects Mojave Airport Drive to Finance in that area.
Where's the revenue come for the funds?
We had a grant for $275,000, and then
That's been granted now?
What's that?
you already have received that?
Yes, well, no, so the way the grant works is you expend the money and they pay back as you spend it through the construction.
So they just
So it's all been
basically
budgeted.
reimbursed?
Yeah, we get reimbursed up to 10% on that grant, correct. That's not the entire cost of the project. There's gonna be additional funds from airport revenues over the years. It's gonna be expended onto this, or not airport, but industrial park revenues that is gonna be used on this project.
Okay, because we don't want to mix airport funds
Correct.
with other revenues, because that's against the, I believe.
Yes,
Am I correct?
you are correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then one of the things in regards to down here in the tourism that's going on, we've got the Powerhouse Drive-Through Shield that was recently put up down by the Powerhouse. It's a big Route 66 sign. We've been seeing a lot of people come through that shield. It's been getting a lot of visitors. And as I update, I'll also update you in the coming months of other activities that we're getting in regards to tourism and other things like that. So with that, any other questions? That is my report.
Yeah, approximately.
Commissioner Anspoker,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Approximately how much per acre are the 40 acres bringing? Do you know?
So recent land sales have brought in about 50,000 an acre for non-rail served properties.
And these are non-rail served that are in
There's-
the process?
And I'll just give you the, if land sale of rail served property typically will go $15,000 an acre more.
So these 40 acres that you have in the process of selling, are they rail served or not? Or some of them are, some of them aren't?
Some properties are,
They are?
correct, yes,
Okay, so that'd be 50,000 an acre?
for non-rail served property.
Okay, how much for rail served?
Usually $15,000 more.
Okay,
So 68.
so like 65.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just doing some quick math here.
So these properties still have to close, they still have to go through a
Right.
process, so, keep that in mind, Mr. Amsboker.
Gotcha,
All right.
but that's basically $2.4 million, is that, give or take,
Potentially.
Huh?
Potentially.
potentially? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a question slash comment, I guess.
All right. Mr. Grimes?
Yes, Mr. Bradley, so first of all, I want to make a comment that the Powerhouse drive-through thing is a crazy success. It's, every time I've driven down there, there's at least one person and quite often many more. And I guess a lot of us probably haven't really realized how special Route 66 is and how much it means to other people that drive through, but it's been just nuts. I assume you've seen this too yourself.
It's been a real success. We've had a large Brazilian biker group that came through, and they just 50 or more went through the drive-through. It was all over the internet.
How many are Brazilian again?
Yeah, it was a Brazilian.
Sorry.
They travel here from all over. They rent bikes and they go down Route 66.
Yeah.
So,
Commissioner,
Yeah, but yeah, I have another, and on this, you have these storage cards that always come up every month and on hand and cars switched and all that. Is that basically staying the same? I haven't gone back and done my own little graph, but would it be of any interest at all, or is it just pretty much a flat graph? Is it showing any trends one way or the other?
we can, I can, show a cumulative report of that, and you could take a look at it. It stays within, of what it was previous years. So
Okay.
there's not been a lot of up and down. Typically, our park is about 13 to 15% rail users out of all the
Okay.
industrial park users.
So there's really nothing of interesting at this point of interesting note of, wow, look at that, we've got a jump now happening or something yet.
Not yet, but we could Potentially, if a business comes in that needs rail, then you're gonna get an increase there. If we do some of this transloading potential, you're gonna see an increase there.
And do we get money for, or how much, if any, do we get? And I should know this probably, for the stored cars.
So of the revenues that come into the park, we receive, I believe it's 3% through our contract with Patriot Rail.
So whatever they bring in, we get 3% of that.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Commissioner Gaines, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Amspoker?
I thought we got $50 per car for stored. Is that incorrect?
I would have to check that.
Okay,
see.
if you can.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, any other questions? All right, Mr. Bennett, thank you very much, and I want to comment and thank you very much for giving us your written report or outline here. It helps us keep track of all the information you give us each month, so thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to airport staff report. Mr. Breckenridge.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just give you an idea, we did have one item that was left off the staff report. And I know Mr. Kirkland is a busy man. I was going to give you guys a brief update of him proposing a aero box around the airport. And I asked him, and he gladly accepted to come up here because we'll like just you guys to listen to him and just a little bit of discussion so we can make a better determination of where we need to go with this.
Okay.
But Mr. Kirkland, would you like to come up?
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Dan Kirkland. I'm owner of West Coast Netting out at the airport, and I'm also a pilot, and I'm part of the formation clinic that's being run at the same time that Tim's doing the open house. So part of the formation clinic, what we'd like to do is put a temporary aqua box Sunday morning from 8 to 10. And I'll apply for it through the FAA, but to do that, I need Doug's okay to do that. He needs to give me a letter saying it's okay. So he wants me, to briefly describe what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is an aqua box that will go from the ground level to 3,200 feet. It'll be east of runway 213, cover about 2 nautical miles, and that would be, and in that space will be waived the airspeed, altimeter settings. Certain FARs allow us to do acrobatic and formation maneuvering. What that does is allow us to practice for air shows. The FAA has a rule now that we have to be practicing for air shows within 30 days of the air show. So they have made these temporary aqua boxes more available to people because we're under the gun for practice. So with the formation clinic here practicing, a lot of those guys do air shows. So this is just a way to make the formation clinic better. Sunday morning, the airport's not busy. We're not going to close the airport. And this will give everybody a chance to practice, make the clinic that much better for everybody, grow the clinic, because we do it in Sheboygan with the T-28s for Oshkosh, and it's a big hit. So I'm trying to bring that here. For safety, I know there's some safety issues that people want to talk about that, and I'm open to that. The airport will not be closed. It will be NOTAMed. So technically, the pilots coming in will know that the aqua box is active from 8 to 10 on Sunday morning. I will call the controlling agency and activate the aqua box. I got it for 2 hours, but chances are we might not even use it for 2 hours. Then I'll close it, call LA Center to open, call LA Center to close it. Like I said, it will be NOTAM, so it's all over the FAA that box is active. On top of that, we'll be monitoring Unicom. We'll have a guy on the ground with a handheld to monitor for any incoming traffic, as well as the pilot will also be on Unicom, and anybody who's flying. All the traffic can be easily deconflicted. I mean, we're not talking LAX here, we're talking, 5 or 6 flights maybe at best. So that shouldn't be an issue, or won't be an issue. That would be the safety issues. We're just, asking some FARs, Federal Airmen Regulations, to be suspended, temporarily waived for 2 hours. So the people who we'll probably have 3 to 5 guys doing it. maybe a couple formation teams practicing, and then some individual acro teams. So that's what I would like to do.
I just want to clarify, I could have swore you said 8 to noon, but it's 8 to 10.
8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and it's only temporary, remember, this will go in effect and then it goes away. But what it does do is it gives us the ability to have that on record now with the FAA. I've only talked to the Vegas FSDO, the guys that I work with through the T-28s. They're ready for it, I just have to give it to them. I'm under the gun here a little bit time-wise, so the quicker we can get this, the quicker I can get it over to them and get this approved. And then I'll do the NOTAM, I'll write the NOTAM up, I'll take care of the NOTAM for the airport, and then I'll also take care of the LA Center and contacting them,
Okay,
so.
I'll get to you in just a second. And that would certainly be a decision that the airport manager would make, but by him being here and being able to ask the commission's input is certainly a wise thing to do. Commissioner Anspoker.
This would be on the 10th of October,
Yes, it'd be that Sunday.
the Sunday after the Air Fest.
After the Air Fest, the day after the Air Fest.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great, guys, I really do. I think it gets us our foot in the door with the FAA, gets us the box established, and we can use, and then we can open and close that almost not at will, but with a very simple phone call and this form, boom, the box is already laid out, and it just gets approved.
And you said roughly 2 miles east of runway 21?
I submitted, I had to submit the, if you'd like to see it, the box itself. But yeah, it's about a 2 mile square. Basically, because for formation, we need a little bit longer to do our dynamic maneuvering. So the box is a little bit bigger than a standard acro box, but it's mainly to handle the formations.
But the closest boundary of that box is 2 miles away from the airport?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that's what I was
exactly. And
asking.
I'm using the runway 211 as, 3 as the air show, and we're off of that. So we're not over the runway. We're gonna be east of the runway doing our work.
Any other questions for Mr. Kirkland?
I have a couple of questions and
Commissioner
comments.
Gaines.
You said the Vegas FSDO. For some reason, I thought for airports and operations, we have for our airport, it's the Scottsdale FSDO. I know that for my mechanic stuff and maintenance, it's the Vegas FSDO, if you will. But you're saying it's also in this case, it's the Vegas FSDO?
When I called them, he said they deal with this, for this.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with, because of the acro and the airplanes. So I'm gonna send it to the Vegas. He's waiting for it. A guy named Benjamin Moore is my guy, and he said he'll push it through. So if he needs to send it over to Scottsdale, then I'll find that out as well. But
Okay, it's just kind of a point of interest, I guess, because I always figured it was that, but I would like to know, in general, I just like to know who handles that stuff, so, for us.
I'm gonna try Vegas, so.
Okay, you said just that Sheboygan, is that what you mentioned before?
Yes.
Okay, does they also keep the airport open, the same exact thing you're requesting, the airport stays open and it's just NOTAMed like this?
We've done it both ways. This year we closed it. Sheboygan is an international airport, so they have corporate big iron G5s, and so he felt more comfortable closing it. But we basically, once they called on the radio, we let him in. I mean, it was kind of like we're closed, but we're not really closed. So we worked with incoming traffic.
But I guess that would be a different type of airport too, because we're an uncontrolled airport, so there could be people coming in without radios in theory.
In theory, that's true. Yeah, but it is NOTAMed. So we will have guys out there looking, and you know, the routine at the nest is about 15 minutes long. So, you know, each routine.
Right. If we do I know that I guess Prescott, when they do their air events out there, they close, I think, one of the runways where they're doing the events at, and I think they keep one of the other ones open, I think, when they're just an approach. But if you do a NOTAM, or should this NOTAM include maybe a pattern direction change? Like, in other words, not to have a left-hand pattern on 2-1 and not to have a right-hand pattern on 3, maybe? It should be over the industrial.
Exactly. I was going to try to hold all the traffic to the west, and why we work east.
Okay. That's my only real it's a big concern, right? Is if someone's coming in, of course, if they're not reading their NOTAMs, they're not reading their NOTAMs. And you could also close an airport and people could still come in too, and ignore or miss those facts also would be, some unknowing person again, but if they're not reading their NOTAMs, that's their responsibility to have one of you guys doing a vertical climb and stuff your nose up into a 172 that's not paying attention.
No, I'm gonna have part of the NOTAM, that's exactly right. Part of the NOTAM will have the right-hand traffic put everybody on the west-hand side. And
Okay.
then we'll work on the east side.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that's the only questions I have right now, I think. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Gaines, thank you. Any other questions? All right, we'd like to hear from Mr. Breckenridge on your input. Thank you, Mr. Kirkland.
I really do think that this will be a good idea. I like his safety aspect that he has brought forth. Commissioner Gaines, along with you gentlemen, just brought up some ideas that I never even thought of, which is a really good point. This is one reason why I want to hear this discussion go back and forth, so I can get that information. I see this being very beneficial also in the future, because it allows to bring in more pilots into the airport. And also, if this turns into a permanent, and let's just say if this doesn't work out too well with it being this close to the runway, we could definitely reach out to the FAA and look for other spots near the airport where we could turn into a box and just bring a little bit more attention to Kingman Airport and possibly provide very adequate, safe training areas for these type of aeronautical activities.
Talking about the future and possibility of establishing a permanent box, I know where I did my pilot training north of town, they had a permanent training spot, and it was a great place to be able to go and do your maneuvers and all that. And the local pilots knew that, be at high alert at that area, because student pilots might not be the highest alert. So in the future, if it goes to that, that would be a good thing too. Anything else?
Anything we can do to promote aviation in the area is gonna be a good thing. Locally, when I took my private training, we did it out over Red Lake. Were you still using Red Lake, John?
Yes, I did a lot of mine out there over Red Lake.
Yeah, so this is a good thing to do.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you very much, and go ahead with your staff report.
Okay, activity report for this month, or for past months, airport business development. We issued a request for proposal for 2 parcels of land. One was a little over 200,000 square feet. The other was around 140, 150,000 square feet. We put that out there to be in that 2 parties had interest in that RFP. And that request for proposal, to just give you an idea, also was based upon the individuals, how qualified they were, how much experience they have, how much capital improvement, and what type of business they're going to bring into this airport. Well, we only received one of those proposals back for one of the parcels, around 200,000 square feet. And we looked at it. They are putting in pretty substantial, or the request to put in a substantial amount of capital investment and bring in some additional businesses into the airport. That proposal has passed the committee, and it is, or through the judging or scoring committee, and will go in front of city council for us to award that proposal. And then after that, then it goes into a little bit more negotiations, such as how much capital, get a little bit more down to the details on the actual improvements, and discussion lease negotiations. The more money, or the more they're willing to invest in that piece of property, the more likely they're going to get an increase in their actual lease time and extensions, possible future extensions.
Will that make it to this week's city council?
It will be at the city council meeting tomorrow.
Excellent.
Can you give us some detail on the business?
It's going to be, well, it will be another aircraft storage facility, or unit that's in here. Actually, they're already here. They're just looking for, make an actual permanent building, a little bit more accessible for them and their customers.
Okay.
But they're looking at building hangars, storage sites, office space, and drastically or greatly improving that area just north of Arizona.
Oh. Cool.
Next one, staffing process of new AO, airport operations and maintenance specialist positions. We received about 18 applications. We are weeding that down, and we're hopefully towards the end of this month or possibly early next month, we go through the interview process, get those individuals selected, and then we can start have that individual over here on the weekdays all the way till about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. I'll be honest with you, it's going to be great help for us in the airport, also in response to needs or addresses that occur after normal business hours.
Speaking of staffing, with the vacant commissioner position, I noticed on the airport's website, there is a notice and an application process, which is wonderful. But I also noticed we're still listing Henry as one of our commissioners. I thought we might make that say vacant, just to
Yes, sir.
update it.
Yes, sir.
Just a thought. And while I'm talking about the website, on the airport website, which is beautiful, by the way, who all has input on that has done a wonderful job, but it has a special tab to click on for Airfest, and it only refers to the prior Airfest, and it currently says that the Airfest is canceled for 2020. So whoever's putting on the Airfest might want to look at that and update that. But anyways, thank you.
We'll get with Commissioner Gerlach and the individuals sponsoring that, and we'll get something, either create a little website for it, or if need be, link into one of theirs and provide that access.
Thank you.
So, expanded security, possible 2-year pilot project. We're currently drafting up, or we drafted up a contract, and we're moving that around, having let people take a look at it, make some corrections, clarify some items, and I'm trying to get that moving forward as soon as possible. I have been taking notes of other security companies throughout the area to spur on a little bit competition when it comes to it, and that is really high on my list, and we are looking forward to that. Taxiway Bravo project. Design still relatively complete. We are looking forward to moving forward on that project. We did receive a possible or given heads up by ADOT on a grant offer for phase 2. Emailed them out and communicated with them. They said we possibly could see the official grant offer coming in September. Hopefully they can meet that deadline and get it to us. We'll get that information. We'll get that stamped off by City Council, signed off by them. And we'll go ahead and we'll bid the entire project, phase 1 and phase 2 as a whole. That will reduce mobility, also reduce mobility of the contract, also reduce staff time and engineering time on trying to face the 2 different sections. Over the past month, we have gone out there with engineers and just looked at some other issues or other areas out there just to confirm, making sure that the plan is as close to ready to go. So as soon as we can start moving forward with that, we can put out the bids for it for the contractors. Once we receive the grant offer, receive the bids back, tally them up, make sure they complete and they meet the minimum requirements, and then we can move forward. Terminal painting and landscape. We ordered 2 new signs. One sign for the front side of the terminal building, one for the back side. We were originally trying to get them as big as possible, but unfortunately for the aircraft side, we didn't have enough space. The spots we did look for it, or we did have an idea where it could fit, it just would have been cluttered underneath posts, chairs, and it would just be difficult for a pilot to see. So we're looking at placing a smaller sign right next to the pilot's terminal. Grass, we do have grass growing out there. In the meantime, till we can start working on the actual drainage, which we have been working with Public Works to look at the drainage on the backside. We're going to try to keep that grass growing as much as possible, so that would reduce any type of water flow that comes into the area until we could get a much more permanent solution moving forward. But we are working with Public Works and looking at different options of diverting and moving that water off into the main drainage flows. For the actual T-hanger, let me move this. T-hanger, weather stripping replacement. Unfortunately, that was kind of pushed back due to the storm recoveries. As everybody's probably aware that whenever we had those two severe storms, we had to shut down a runway or two. And it took us a little while to get everything cleaned up, back in order, and get that moving, and then including the couple of extra days after that to look along the runway safety, taxiway safety areas, get that cleared up as smooth as possible, and even clearing out some of the older drainage ditches or the catch basins, so we could increase the water flow in there and get it off the airfield. Right after the first storm, we did find some older catch basins that were hidden in there through older maps. We cleared that out, so during the second storm, let's put it this way, the water wasn't flowing as fast over some of the taxiways and runways. It really reduced, really helped out. Hopefully that will also, and I'll get to the other projects, be better designed for that drainage plan in the future with the master drainage study. Does anybody have any questions right now?
I have one question. On the weather stripping, is it just on the top of the doors or also on the bottom?
This one right now, we're focusing on the top.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'll be happy to sit back and come and view everybody's hangar, because going through it, driving through it's one thing, standing inside is a whole different.
Yeah, the bottom on mine's not too bad, but it is starting to come apart at one end, so
Okay.
you may want to take a look at them.
Master drainage study, we have given the notice to proceed back in July, late July. That's going to be about a 180-day project. That's going to look at the entire drainage over the airfield inside the fence line. With that study, they're supposed to be coming back with solutions on how we could improve the actual drainage on the airfield, which I'm all pretty much for right now. Very much for. I'm not a big fan of out there helping the guys out in dress shoes and slacks and helping them clean up. I'd rather it go and drain off the airfield as quickly as possible so it doesn't shut down or impede any type of flight operations. Next one, this is one that we're kind of looking at, popped up on our side, or in my mind and some of the staff's mind, was the actual wind tee. We have a wind tee right next to the primary windsock. I have a map for that, and I'd like to share that. I don't think it popped up. Let me open it up a different way. I apologize for this. Right there, just kind of south of Alpha, in between the two runways that head north. When we were out there assessing the windsocks, saw this wind tee out there. Couldn't find anything in regulations preventing it. Don't see. So our standpoint, to our best of our knowledge, it can't be out there. We do see benefits. We do see some cons behind it. But from our standpoint, when we're looking at it, it's almost directly underneath the windsock. We're thinking that possibly at night or even daytime, them being so close together, that it could obstrude or obstruct or make it more difficult for somebody in the air to actually identify the windsock and the actual wind speed from that windsock. So we're debating about removing it, but we don't want to remove it yet. And this is one of those that we want your general thoughts on it.
Okay.
Which would be easier to move, the windsock or the wind tee?
They're both going to be extremely difficult. Let's put it that way.
Extremely difficult to move?
Because you're looking at making some adjustments to the wiring. You're also looking at making adjustments to the airport obstruction study. If you move the windsock, you're going to have to end up moving the segmented circle.
Moving the what?
Yeah, the segmented circle. That's the
okay.
circle that goes around the windsock.
Yeah.
You can barely see it there, but there are posts that go up.
Remove the wind tee, what's the problem with,
Remove the wind tee, you're probably gonna have to also conduct some rewiring. You're gonna have to move some wire around, you're gonna have to create a new base for the actual wind tee.
Doug, you're talking about keeping just moving the wind tee and keeping it operational?
We're thinking about actually possibly, and this is one area, was removing it as a whole. Just completely remove the wind tee. It is a secondary item that's out there. It may not move as fast and give as accurate due to the fact that it is 55-gallon drums that are welded together. So the windsock can make it a rapid adjustment. The wind tee may be a little bit slower. Plus, if the windsock's not working, you can identify through the back end of the to tell the windsock if it's not properly moved, it needs to be better maintained. Whereas the wind tee, since it's much larger, much easier to see at night from a pilot, if that malfunctions, it may be a little bit more difficult for individuals, or even a pilot that's flying, to identify that it is not functioning correctly and could give false information.
Are there any standards, any guidance from FAA on wind tees and what they should be made of or function or anything? Because this looks more like a kind of a homemade device, and a lot of them are on small airports. I've seen all kinds of stuff, but I just wonder if there's any kind of guidance on that.
Commissioner Gaines, about the way this was constructed, it is believed that this is a relic from when the airport was operational during World War II. And so there is some significant, or there may be some significant historical value to it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
You know, the way they made things back then, I wouldn't doubt that they'd use something like 55-gallon drums, but that's part of the concern, is that is the historical value of it.
No, I believe me, I can appreciate that. I'm involved with a museum project out here, and I come from DNA with history and aviation and so forth. So I was kind of unaware of that, or I didn't remember that. So I can see the desire to keep it and make it functional if it isn't functional 100%. Does it light up at night? I hadn't even noticed, to be honest.
It does light up at night.
Okay.
It does. But,
and it spins around like it's supposed to and all that stuff?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But for your
Okay.
question about FAA guidance, FAA for the airport design advisory circular, and when you go look into wind codes or wind indicators, they strictly say wind cones or wind indicators, or they talk about that. Now they do. I don't see anywhere that excludes wind tees. When I started looking at the Airman's Information Manual, they still have wind tees in there. Looked at some other airports, they still have wind tees. It is still functional, but it's just one of those where when we're looking on the ground, we just don't know if that's going to impede a pilot's decision in addressing or assessing the wind. Now, we do have supplementary or secondary windsocks on each of the approach ends, but at night, from a distance, much higher up distance, we're just kind of thinking that this does raise some concern, and we're just seeking your input on it.
Is that windsock inside this segmented circle lighted?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think we should go up flying at night and check it out. How about that?
works for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that. That would be a thing to do, I think. Maybe. So I can see how just looking at it on the ground, though, how it could be, you could look at it and go, hey, these could kind of interfere, if you're a little bit far away or a little bit high, how they could kind of get blended, if you will, or something, and look kind of funny.
Let's face it, from 1,000 feet, it's really hard to see the windsock, and the tee is quite a bit larger. But
It's true too. I would like to go up at night and check it out. Is anybody, I haven't done this lately, so if anybody is, I think I would like to do this.
Okay.
so would I.
What I might suggest is that we table this issue, you and your staff, and certainly if there's a maintenance issue that comes up with it, bring it up again, and then we can visit this sometime in the future.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
continue on.
We didn't want to pull it away just because we did not know from a pilot standpoint if it's accessible or non-accessible. So that's why we're bringing this up, just
That's
comments.
kind
But
of,
we'll hold on to it, and when you guys go flying, if it does look like it, then we can bring it back up and start moving forward on additional solutions.
Mhm.
Sorry, let me make the adjustment again. Okay, bump removal. Pretty sure that you guys are aware, the staff, commission is aware, we did have a significant hump right next to or adjacent to the sheriff's officer hangar. Kind of blocks access from EA, including the southern end of the airfield to safe taxi routes to get out to the runway. We did remove that hump. We did put some asphalt down. We're letting that asphalt cure a little bit before we go through, do a little bit more sweeping, fine tune it, smoothen that a little bit more, and address some of the problem areas in that location.
Is this where it goes from concrete to asphalt? Is that
Yes,
what you're talking about, that?
Yes, sir.
Sort of an L-shaped area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
This section is not the section that's connected to the draw site.
Right.
So we didn't have to worry about that. That was originally concrete where that asphalt used to be. And we reached out to the engineers. They said, no, that's not a part of the draw site. So there, that's when we took a look at it, and I want to give kudos to Public Works. We reached out to them, the Streets Department. They immediately jumped up within under a week. They provide us a different solution. We were originally going to use a scarifier, but a scarifier that shaves off concrete and asphalt took about 30 minutes per square foot. And we were looking at about 75 square feet. So that's when we reached out to Public Works. They came out and they assisted us with the removal, compacting of the asphalt. They are even nice enough to come by, just check up on it today. So I got to give Public Works Street Division a lot of kudos for that, for coming out and helping us out.
I got to give you kudos, Mr. Breckenridge, for getting this done, because this has been an aggravation for a long time. And it's gone through different managers and different complaints by different people. I'm one of the louder ones, I suppose, but you made this happen. And it's on my end of the airport too, but it affects several other people down here. I really appreciate you getting this handled and making it happen.
Yeah, more than welcome, sir.
I gotta commend you as well. That was a stroke of genius to do that, and it's been that way for the 20 years I've been flying.
And it's fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
yep, absolutely.
So I commend you. Good job.
Thank you, thank you. Next one, ADOT FAA grant, CRISA grant. We were supposed to bring that forth in front of the city council this month, but it's gonna be pushed back a little bit. Been working with Mr. Husband, Joe Husband. He is the one who started that up, and I didn't want to step in and slow down the process with it. Unfortunately, he had a little personal stuff come up, and it's going to be pushed back a little bit. But we're hopefully to get that in front of CC either towards the end of this month or next month, and get that little additional cash and back towards the airport. Taxiway Bravo project, as already stated, we're hopefully would get that grant offer next month, and get that in front of city council and get that moving as soon as possible so we can start working on Bravo and open up that southern section of the airfield a lot more to future customers, current customers, and possible future development on that end. PAPI replacement, that grant, $500,000. I believe we have about a $50,000 match, so ADOT's going to be giving us around, or said they're going to give us $450,000. We're going to take that money and replace those PAPIs, get them back up and working, get them a lot more functional, and we're expecting that around the same time as the phase 2 for the Taxiway Bravo project.
This is for runway 3?
This is for both sides of that same runway.
3
This is
and
3.
2-1.
2-1, yes, sir.
Do 2-1s work? I've always seen them working.
Yes,
They
sir.
worked yesterday.
We're looking at updating them and moving them a little bit further out
Oh, okay.
to, it makes it more compliant with FAA regulations. Draw site, as everybody knows, legal is pretty much taking a lead on this one. I did reach out to them to get a little bit more input for everybody in the commissioners. They said they are actually drafting, or they're about to give a full presentation to city council tomorrow. In order to keep the information standardized, streamlined, didn't want to give out any information or too much information on this till they could finalize it, Carl Cooper, and then present it tomorrow and have one voice on that actual project. Hangar wait list. We still have 4 in the executive A hangars. Oh, yes, sir.
You skipped one,
Oh, sorry.
land release.
Oh, land release. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Land release. We have presented a finalized preliminary draft to the FAA. That was sent out to them last week. Hopefully they could get that back to us as soon as possible going through it. And we can start moving that forward as soon as possible and get that done before the end of the year.
What land are you releasing?
The 1,800 acres.
1,800, okay.
Okay.
Next one, aircraft storage. We have executive A hangars, 5 available, 5 occupied, 4 on the actual wait list. B, C hangars, we have 30 hangars total, 30 are occupied. We're looking at 8 people moving in, plus additional 2 waiting on relocation. We did have one individual that came in and gave us his 30-day notice. So we're expecting one of those hangars to open up here in the near future. D hangars, 10 available, 10 occupied. We have 1 on wait list. And then for a covered tie down, all 10 are occupied. We have 4 on the wait list currently.
So since we're talking about hangars, any update on the new shade hangars?
Yes, sir. We are first going out there and looking at how much that will cost with the rising steel prices. We're getting some facts and some figures back. It's not looking good, but we're still going to go out there, and we're working with Public Works since they have a lot of experience, and they're coming up with some pretty good ideas on how to reduce those costs.
Great.
But we are looking through that. We're already starting to look at possibly the adjustments to the FAA, or start sending out that information to the FAA, or getting a draft going on making adjustments to the airfield with the new hangars.
If you can't build 10 with the 200,000 that the city council so graciously approved, can you build 8 or 6? Can you build a lesser number with the 200,000?
Yes, sir. That's one of the many ideas that we brought forth. We're not looking at just one solution. We're looking at multiple solutions. And it could be just keep an eye on the market and see what it's going to look like. If its prices start lowering within a few months, then we could probably look at going back out there and get a little bit more than what we would get if we put it out there now. So we're looking at all sorts of options, ways to approach this, and we're trying to find the best way to add the additional spots without increasing prices due to the fact that shade hangars have gone up. And just overall what's best for the airport and for the flying community.
It goes without saying, well, hindsight's always a good thing, but it's a shame that we didn't get city council on board 2.5 years ago when we first, the commission first suggested this. But we're where we are now, so like you said, the best thing we can do. Thank you.
I just want to take this, what money they give us, and sit it out as far as we can. We get the most bang for our buck at this current time.
Well, also, since we're in the process of selling a boatload of land, we're gonna have even more money in the coffers. And I realize it's not done yet, but it certainly makes sense when you have, well, if the land sales go right, we will double the amount of revenue that we have sitting in the bank. So it'd be nice if we could do something good for the users of the airport.
We will definitely take a look at that when it comes up. One, my higher priorities right now is overall pavement maintenance with the actual airfield. We've been looking at multiple options for the actual cracks on the ramp, discussing with staff, maybe even do a few tests with some new materials and see if that could harden up those cracks, fill them up, and last much longer than just a year, year and a half to where we're already going back. So
Yeah,
that's...
With the Airfest coming up, it'd be nice if we can keep people from falling
Okay.
and children from getting lost in the cracks.
So yes, that's, right now, that is really a high priority on my list. That actually came up with the actual bump, because we were using that as a kind of a idea on this type of asphalt patch we put in, or keep an eye on how quick does it cure, how smooth is it, and how long it will last than just short term, and we're looking at some other additional options. But right now, the cracks on the higher pavement maintenance, including our current capital improvements that are on record on using that money to pay for the actual airport share. But the money, the $200,000, we're looking at getting that shade hanger put in, and also some possible other items if available, if we have enough spare money left over. That's if we sit back and we come up with, find a cheaper solution. I will know, you'll be pleased to know, we purchased another type of LED/solar light that staff has been looking at, trying to figure out how to put it on the actual current shade and putting that up. It's much bigger. The problem with it was when they were sitting there looking at it, they're like, yeah, the light and the solar panel's not exactly fastening too well to the roof of the building, and they're just terrified that if we get another high wind, it will loosen and the solar panel will break loose and go flying across the airfield. So staff is looking at a better way of securing that secondary option that provides a lot more light than what we're currently putting on the edge. And if it does, and it does work out good, then we're probably gonna go that route with installing those lights inside the shades.
Then all we need to do is get some lockers and.
Just gotta give me a little time, that's all I'm asking.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, this has been brought up many times, but are you looking into replacing the chains, the tie-down chains? With the recent winds, I know there's been some chains that have been damaged, but they were supposed to be replaced years ago. And one thing after another has delayed, and I'm hoping that you will be able to look into this.
Well, Friday, I walked around with our airport operations maintenance supervisor. We're taking a look at the chains, the S-hooks. He was describing some issues that we have been hearing from our flying community, everything from the rust, and even showed me one of the chains that have broken loose. So we're going through there, and we're trying to get a list going of items, what's highest ones that we need to tackle, what's lowest ones. We did look at chains that we currently have in stock. Some of those chains are a little bit too big to fit through some of the eye hooks of aircraft. But per your question, we are actively looking into and resolving that issue. It may be small bites at a time, but we are trying to get our arms around and get that tackled.
Okay, because yeah, this was the first item that was brought up when your predecessor arrived at the airport. So it goes back quite a ways, and probably before that, but he goes, I'm gonna fix these chains, and I don't believe any of them were done, so.
Yeah, that was from Mr. Johnston, because he's a pilot and he flew in and was trying to tie down his airplane and was having trouble finding a good spot that had all functional chains. And I do run into this, Doug. I was going to bring it up a while back, or whatever, but there's different things going on. I have customers that come in as well, and they park airplanes for me to go pick them up and tow them in when we're ready for them, and they have to play, musical tie down spot, and then occasionally I'll go there and just park my tow vehicle and walk around till I can pick up different areas or different chains in different areas and see if the S-hooks are either unbent or bent too far or any number of things. And Tim is right. This is, and we did our own research. I had my assistant do some research on this, and there are certain guidance that FAA has on it as well. And there are certain areas you can kind of get bogged down in on requirements and how many manufacturers make them and all that. But it is an ongoing problem with transient aircraft and even when we go down there to use them, and it's almost like we're so used to it, we just accept that they're just terrible. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it's gonna be. But it's something that I know your list is a mile long and you're doing some really good things. And so I don't have any complaint about that, but man, if we could get that, I think if I were to handle it personally, I would figure out, the 10 premium spots, let's say, and get those 10 spots fixed, and then restriped also, so they look like they're, newly striped, and this is where chains are going to be good if you move your aircraft in that area. But we get a lot of people that come in and have to move their stuff around multiple times to find a good area.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely take that approach. As I said, if gentlemen are not aware, if you walk out there on Fridays, a lot of times towards the afternoon, you'll see me out there with a supervisor just going through, taking a look at all the items and trying to get an idea and gauge of what we need to address. To my knowledge, the first group of chains they purchased were not strong enough. And then the second group of chains that they purchased, that came back, we managed to use it to tow a very large truck out of when it was stuck. And it was a little bit too big for an aircraft. So we're going back and we're looking at the gauges and through everything and trying to correct this issue as soon as we can.
Doug, I
Thank you.
met with Joe Husband back in January, and he was looking at some S-hooks and some different chains. And like that was only 8 months ago. But they did replace the damaged S-hook where I tie down. But the S-hooks in a lot of places have been bad for decades. And it's kind of important that they work. So Paul's right. This has kind of been neglected and ignored for quite a while, but it really, I guess we should be less used to it and more aggressive in fixing it. And
I think this may be the first time we're publicly bringing up to this much to you. You're fairly new out here, so none of this. There's a huge history of years of it not getting done before you got here. So some of the frustration you're hearing is accumulation from past stuff, saying it was going to be, because again, Mr. Johnston was here for like 2.5 years, and that was, like Tim pointed out, that was the first thing he was going to fix. And 2.5 years later, it's like, holy moly. So anyway, again, I know your list is long, but that is an important thing for everybody out here.
Okay, if you could, go ahead and move on to your division budget report.
Okay, here's the fiscal year 2021. 2021, this is the actual final budget, put this in here. The revenue for overall for the airport and industrial park was $1,659,442. The expenses were $1,190,382, which was 78% of the budget spent. The overall revenue broken down from the airport was $1,468,549. For the industrial park was $190,894. The expenses for the airport were $1,127,577, and the industrial park was $62,805. This right here, per the last commission meeting, this is the update. This is how we're going to start presenting the actual fuel flowage, divided out. In this case, this is for avgas and jet fuel over the entire year, month by month, for the fiscal year 21. We have a total for all fuel cells was 186,170 gallons, with a total of, can't get up here, I apologize, I will have to go back and get that updated for the total for each one for the end of the year. I'll provide that if you guys would like me to in the next meeting for total for Jet A and avgas.
do we get 3% or 3 cents a gallon?
We get 4 cents.
4 cents
Yes, sir.
a gallon?
Yes, sir.
So do we know how much that was? Or do we need to do the math?
I'll probably have to do the math. And I do not have my calculator here.
Okay, that's right, we don't need to do that right now. Let's continue on with your next
For
page.
Fiscal year '22, as of the end of July, we've had overall revenue of actually that's 100, I think I may have hit one change on that. I will have to get back to you guys on that. I'm sorry. I think I actually hit undo one too many times and have them reverse. But I have to get clarification on that side. I do apologize. Let's go over the revenues real quick on the second section, the industrial park versus the airport. Total revenue was $122,563. For the airport was $113,724. The industrial park revenue was $8,889. The actual expenses for the airport was $51,898, and the expenses for the industrial park was $73,500. But so far for that month, I do know that we went through about 0.96% of our budget for expenses. And for the actual fuel flow fees, we get that information on the 15th, 16th. Due to the fact the 15th fell on Sunday, we should be getting that information either today or tomorrow very shortly.
Why was the revenue on the industrial park so much higher than usual?
You mean the expense?
Yeah, right, sorry, the expense.
The expense, I may have to ask.
Well, I think something is afoul there because their entire expense for this last fiscal year was 62,000.
Yeah.
And here it's showing for 1 month as 73,000, so I'm sure there's a clerical error there.
I do have to go back. I will tell you this, we did receive a whole new style of budget sheet in. It is much a little bit easier for tracking this information, but I may have accidentally saw the wrong budget and put it in. That would be on my fault. I'll get that corrected by next meeting.
Okay.
I do apologize for that. I'm trying to get used to the new system, and I told the ladies in finance, I said, it is great because it is easier for me to track every line item. I just got to get used to reading it, interpreting it.
All right, any additional questions on the airport staff report?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Amspoker.
I've had a number of people that are in shade come and approach me and say that they're getting a letter saying they need to have the city of Kingman as an additionally named insured on their policy. Is this something new that you're doing, first of all? And second of all, I've explained to them that typically that's not going to charge you any more on your insurance premium. So it shouldn't be a problem. I just got a new policy and they didn't list it, but I also didn't tell them to. So I'm going to contact them and say I'd like to have the city of Kingman as an additionally named insured. But I know that it's something that you have in the contract for the hangars. Was it always in the agreement on the shade? And do you think that an airplane hitting the shade is going to do any damage to the shade?
Well, we are looking back at that. I am taking a close look to it. Turns out the shade actual contract does have insurance in there, but it is a little bit vague. So we've been going back, looking at that actual shade hangar contracting and make some clarifications for all parties involved. So we have a little bit better idea from not only the tenants or the customer standpoint, but also from the airport and city standpoint of what the responsibility for each party and what each party needs.
Because honestly, all you're going to do if you hit those big chunks of steel is damage your airplane. You're not going to.
But
You're not gonna
Commissioner
hurt it at all.
Amspoker, if your plane was to come loose and go floating across the airport, it could strike other airplanes, other
Sure.
hangars, and that sort of thing. So that's where the city needs to be sure that those injuries to persons, to individuals is taken care
I
of.
understand that, and as an insurance expert myself, I also know that my liability would have to be paying for that. The only way the city would be liable would be if their chains and hooks broke because of poor maintenance or not buying the right chains and S-hooks. So if it came loose, it would be primarily my responsibility, and my insurance would pay it, as they have in the past.
If you have insurance,
Yeah,
what if you didn't?
if I didn't have insurance, then they'd look for the nearest deep pocket.
Which would be the city.
Right.
And that's why the city, in ensuring that they are added as additional insured, that there is in fact an insurance policy.
We have people that land here all the time. What are we gonna do with them if they don't have insurance?
There's no way to police that.
Exactly.
But there
And-
is a way to police people that are leasing property from the city.
Again, I wanna know what we're gonna do, because are we gonna be expecting people that are just using ramp space? Is there a contract with them for the ramp users?
For the ones that are actually leasing it from the airport, we
No,
are
they pay
looking into that
$25
too.
a month.
We are looking into that right now too.
So you're wanting insurance on theirs too?
At this current time, there's no insurance out there in their contract, but we are reviewing that. We're reviewing that from all parties involved.
Anticipate some unhappy people. I think insurance is a good thing. I always have insurance.
What,
I would encourage people to have insurance.
why do you believe there'll be unhappy people if there's no cost to it?
Well, there'll be cost to it, because there are some people that don't have insurance on their aircraft.
Got it. Okay. I noticed on the airport website, there's an application process, or it's more of an interest card if you're interested in aircraft storage, hangar or open storage or whatever. And in that, there's a list of requirements that you would have to meet. And I noticed that in that list, that this insurance question is not listed. So that might, when you're going through all this and get it all standardized, that might be a place we want to add that verbiage as well.
One, we will put that out there once we actually get that. And one thing is that'll be good from individuals that are looking towards coming to Kingman, leasing different spots. All that information will be out there ahead of time for them to make a best judgment call what better suits them.
Right.
But one of the many aspects that we're looking at from our standpoint is standardizing all three leases across the board. So each one from the shade hangars to the T hangars to the tie downs are as close enough as possible, so it's just easy for any party to review it and have an understanding of what is the requirements for the city and for the actual tenant or customer.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions about the airport staff report? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to old business, the mission statement. Everybody was sent in their packet the latest draft of the airport and industrial park mission statement. This has been worked on by Commissioner Lorimer, myself, Mr. Breckenridge, and Bennett. Yes, and Mr. Bennett helped us with that as well.
I'd like
Yes.
to ask about something. Lines
Yes.
6 and 7 appear to be the same.
On 6 and 7.
Commissioner Gerlach, what was that?
Lines 6 and 7 on the mission statement appear to be the same thing.
And his
Where it
volume,
says
that
be
was-
responsive.
Yes. Sorry, Commissioner. That was the one where we were trying to strike out, and I don't think it's saved.
can
6
you,
and 7 are the exact same sentence, so it's just striking out one additional sentence. Where it
oh,
says,
yes,
be
yes,
responsible.
okay, got it. Yes, so we'll strike out that bullet number 7.
Sir, just to help out, I know it's kind of be one last minute thing put in there. Would it be best for each of the sections to put, A, B, C, D, just to make it a little bit easier?
Rather than bullets?
Yes, sir.
I don't have a preference.
It's
Commissioner
just
Gerlach,
thought.
other than that, did you have any other questions?
No, that was my only point.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I think it looks pretty good. You guys did a good job. It's pretty thorough. I think it's decent. It's pretty good.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. I would like to entertain a motion that we adopt the corrected Kingman Airport and Industrial Park Advisory Commission mission statement and have it published on our website.
I would so
Motion
move.
to do that.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And it's moved by Commissioner Amspoker, seconded by Commissioner Lorimer, that we adopt and approve, or approve and adopt, the Kingman Airport and Industrial Park Advisory Commission website and have it published on our website. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that is adopted. We'll go on to, oh, it took us 2 years. We'll go on to our commission committees. Back in June, we talked about asking for commissioners to submit a list to Mr. Breckenridge about what commission they would prefer to serve on. Doug, have you received any?
I did receive one.
Okay,
Find my record.
could you share that with us?
Yes, it'll be Commissioner Stutzman. He requested first committee he'd like to belong to or participate is the Events and Promotional Committee.
All right,
The second one was Development and Planning. And then his third was the Policy and Regulations.
We were supposed to list those in order of preference, right?
yes,
Okay,
which you wanted events first.
yes.
Okay, so since you're the only one that turned anything in, we're going to pencil your name in there. And then I'd like to just go down the list and ask commissioners where they would like to land. And I'm going to start with Commissioner Gerlach.
I would prefer to be on the events committee as well.
Big surprise. All right, thank you. And Commissioner Amspoker.
I would like to be on Policy and Regulations.
Okay. And I'll let the commission know that it was my original thought, since there were 6 positions and 7 of us, that I would just stand back and let you all do the work. But now that we're 1 commissioner short, I'll fill in the last remaining spot. So I'm going to go on to Commissioner Lorimer.
Development planning.
Development plan, okay. Okay, and Commissioner, who am I missing? Oh, Paul.
Haynes, yeah. So there are 2 spots per commission, is that correct?
Yes, there are 2 spots left, policy and regulations or development and planning.
Development and planning.
All right. And I will take the last spot on policy and regulations. All right, so just to review, for policy and regulation, I have Commissioner Amspoker and myself. For development and planning, I have Commissioner Lorimer and Commissioner Gaines. And for events and promotion, I have Commissioner Stutzman and Gerlach. Any other discussion on those volunteer positions? All right. All of them include airport and industrial park staff, so we will leave it to those two managers to contact each of you, and they will collect the city staff to fulfill the committee positions and advise you of the first meeting. At that first meeting, each subcommittee will elect a chair and determine your frequency of meetings and that sort of thing. So any question on that?
So a lot of this could be just ad hoc, I assume. Is that correct?
What I
Chairman
can,
Burrow?
what I can imagine is some of these committees will meet more often up front, like policy and regulations. I can see where we'll have to meet to digest what we have and see where we want to go. And then after that, we probably would not meet that often. Events and promotion would probably meet only when there's a proposed event. And development and planning, same sort of thing. They'll probably meet more often up front, but we'll leave that to the subcommittees to set their own pace.
Okay.
All right, then that is complete. Any other old business? Is there any new business? Seeing none, we'll go to announcements, and we'll start on my left. Commissioner Amspoker.
Yes, the local chapter of the EAA will be doing a Young Eagles Rally by invitation at the Bullhead Laughlin, or the Laughlin Bullhead International Airport on, I believe it's the 13th of October, or November. So if anybody wants to help out, they can let me know.
Is that all?
That's all.
All right, and I do not have any announcements at this time. Commissioner Stutzman.
I do not have any announcements either.
All right. Commissioner Lorimer.
Nothing for me.
Nothing. Commissioner Gaines.
Nothing. I would just like to thank Manager Breckenridge for all the work he's doing, and he's inherited a lot of work, and he's making some good progress.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. I'll give you a heads up, it is a team effort, so.
Okay.
It's all the airport staff and including Public Works has very much been open, saying if we need anything, reach out to them. Finance has been great with being very proactive with our requests and helping us straighten out the money and budget and working with us to get what we need. So it's a major team effort.
Great.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Gerlach.
Only that the Kingman Air Fest is still on track for Saturday, October 9th.
Tim, I have a question. Are you going to be charging admission this time?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Regarding the Air Fest, I understand that the folks putting that on have contracted or made an agreement with the Arizona Rangers for security, and I want to compliment you on that decision. That organization is a fine organization. Not a lot of people know about them, but they do a fine job. So it'll be good to see them out there. All right. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, moved to adjourn by Commissioner Stutzman and seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Amspoker. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.